It is Saturday, the 27th of July, 2024. My name is Pigeon Rose, and this is my song of the day. Here we are again, coming to the end of our Magnetic Fields week here. And today we're talking about probably their best known song. In fact, it's their only song from this album with its own Wikipedia page, so that tells you something. This is, of course, The Book of Love. For a lot of people, this would have been the first song they heard by this band, certainly. Possibly the only one. Partially because it's been covered a fair few times and also featured in TV shows and stuff. Famously, it was covered by Peter Gabriel, and his version of the song was in the original Scrubs finale, the season 8 finale, because we pretend that season 9 doesn't exist. And it's used to great effect there, and I'll probably talk about that during the episode. But that would have been where I first heard it, but I didn't know that yet, because I didn't remember that that was there. And then years later, well, about 4, I discovered this playlist. I believe I mentioned this when I talked about the Antlers, who I definitely need to talk about again soon. I discovered this playlist on YouTube that had Two by the Antlers, Infrared by Placebo, Afraid by The Neighborhood, and there was a Magnetic Field song in it, and I feel like it might have been The Book of Love. I don't remember exactly what song it was. Could have been I Don't Want to Get Over You or something like that. It was some song from 69 Love Songs anyway. And I was like, oh, this is good. So I checked out the rest of the album, and there were two things that struck me. First of all, I rediscovered the Peter Gabriel version and that it was in Scrubs. Also, immediately after Book of Love on the album is Fido, Your Leash Is Too Long, which was covered by Lemon Demon as Fido. And this made something make complete sense to me because I had always thought that Lemon Demon song did not sound like a Neil Cicierega lyric. And turns out it wasn't. It was a cover. I just didn't know that. So that's funny. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the Book of Love, so we might as well just listen to it first. So we're going to listen to it now and then come back in a few minutes and talk about it. I think what's really interesting about this song is that it feels equal parts sincere and also sarcastic. It's got some great wit to it and flippancy, as I said yesterday, but it still expresses this very simple romantic idea. That's what's so interesting about the Peter Gabriel cover, is that the Peter Gabriel cover is this big, sweeping, emotional, orchestral piece. And Stephen Merritt himself thought it was funny that Peter Gabriel seemingly missed the point of the whole song, but then later kind of realized that he was kind of seeing something else in it, and it was still quite an interesting interpretation and a good one. So it's interesting that you can kind of read it in various ways, you know. And of course, this song has been like played at people's weddings and shit, so it's not like people misinterpret things all the time. Oh, I could do a whole podcast about that, about people who misinterpret certain songs, like Every Breath You Take and shit like that. I don't know what's a good example off the top of my head, but, you know. I mean, musically it's pretty simple. It's just vocals and ukulele, I think. And yeah, the lyrics are, "The Book of Love is long and boring. No one can lift the damn thing. It's full of charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. But I love it when you read to me, and you can read me anything." So this is the thing about this song, is that each verse brings up something to do with the Book of Love and criticizes it for some reason. And the chorus kind of reneges on that and says, but it's okay because you do it and I love you, right? So he says how it's long and boring and no one can lift it because it's so big. And there's charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. Like he's describing it as being very dry. Like it's the Book of Love, and love is something so pure and free-flowing and artistic that it's hard to capture it in a dry informational book, you know, with facts and figures and charts and instructions. But then he says, but I love it when you read to me and you can read me anything. Because he's saying, like, I don't mind that the Book of Love is like this because I want to read the Book of Love with you. Do you get what I'm saying? There's a quote from Stephen Merritt where he says, I like taking cliches literally and unpacking them, or whatever you call it. Any book that was comprehensive about love would be really long and unliftable, like the Encyclopedia Britannica. Actually, maybe it wouldn't be all that boring. Maybe parts of it would be boring. So even he realizes as he talks about it that it's not fully applicable, but I understand what he's saying, taking this cliche and unpacking it, and if it was comprehensive about love, it would be huge and hard to read. The Book of Love has music in it. In fact, that's where music comes from. Some of it is just transcendental. Some of it is just really dumb. But I love it when you sing to me, and you can sing me anything. So the same thing again here, but I love that he's talking about music now, because you could take that literally and take it's sheet music or a book of lyrics or poetry or whatever. But he's talking about how music comes from love, and that doesn't have to just mean romantic love, because art in general is how humans express themselves. Particularly, it is often how they express complex emotions that are hard to express in just like conversation or whatever. whatever. Art is how you express that. Poetry, film, television, plays, songs, instrumental pieces. Like, art is how you do that. Paintings, sculpture, And so he's saying that not only is it full of music comes from the Book of Love, which is another way of, again, writing a song about love songs. And then he says some of it's just transcendental, some of it's just really dumb. I love that because he's just, talking about how there's like really in-depth, deep music and there's some that's just like whatever, stupid. And I like how he kind of refers to them both dismissively. Just transcendental, just really dumb. Like, they're just that and nothing else. And then, I love it when you sing to me, you can sing me anything. Again, I don't mind you singing me love songs. The Book of Love is long and boring and written very long ago. It's full of flowers and heart-shaped boxes and things we're all too young to know. But I love it when you give me things, and you ought to give me wedding rings. I love this. He repeats the long and boring bit again, but then says written very long ago. So he's talking about it being kind of like outdated and ancient. And then flowers and heart-shaped boxes, which is, the heart-shaped box of chocolate and all that. It's a very old-fashioned sort of view of love, giving flowers and heart-shaped boxes. Society has kind of moved away from, especially since 1999. People still do it, but it's not the standard anymore, So he's kind of saying how the Book of Love is so big, and yet it's full of useless and outdated information, Things we're all too young to know. And then, but I love it when you give me things, right? So he's like, if you gave me flowers and heart-shaped boxes, I wouldn't mind because I love you. And you ought to give me wedding rings. And so it's this kind of like backwards way of proposing to someone. It's like, I think we should get married. You should propose to me. You should give me a wedding ring. Or wedding rings, rather. Give us both wedding rings. And so I like how it's almost demanding. Like, it feels a bit, again, tying into the satire of it. You ought to give me wedding rings. He's not really giving them much of a choice. But I love it still. It's very straightforward. It's very open. I think you ought to propose to me. We ought to get engaged. Come on, just make it happen. So yeah, I love this song so much. It repeats the last line twice. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, I love this song for its clever lyrics, and it's very sweet lyrics ultimately. And the Peter Gabriel version, like I said, big sweeping orchestral, really nice, really beautiful. At the end of Scrubs, JD is leaving the hospital and he imagines what his future will be like, and he sees a projection of like him getting married and having kids and doing Christmas with his friends and all of these things, and it ends with like him and his wife kissing and just hanging out on the couch. And all through that montage, the Peter Gabriel version of the Book of Love is playing, and it's perfect. I wouldn't watch I'm going to link the clip below. I wouldn't watch it if you don't want to be spoiled, but Scrubs finished like 14 years ago, so get over it. Watch the fucking show. A lot of that show did not age well, but some of it did. It's still a very good show in a lot of ways. Anyway, that scene, fantastic use of this cover of this song, I think. Even if that cover is a bit weird because of the tonality of it, but it's still a very well made and produced song. I also enjoy the context. I won't get into it too much, but basically Peter Gabriel did this project where he made an album where he covered a bunch of songs, and then the intention was to get all the original artists of those songs to do covers of his songs, and he would release his covers as Scratch My Back and their covers as And I'll Scratch Yours. But there ended up being delays and they didn't release at the same time, and not all the artists returned for it. But anyway, the very first single was The Book of Love, this cover. And later, for And I'll Scratch Yours, Stephen Merritt covered Not One of Us by Peter Gabriel. So I just think that's a whole interesting thing. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this song. I love it a lot. There's a reason why it's probably their best known song, It's just very good. I love the simple arrangement of it as well. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening. Join us tomorrow for the final song in Magnetic Fields Week. That'll be interesting. What'll I end with? Well, I've mentioned it several times during the week, so fucking figure it out. You're not going to have to wait long. Thank you so much for listening. Please give me a like, hit subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me what you think of this. Tell me what you think of the Peter Gabriel version. Tell me what you think of Scrubs, I guess. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your foes, tell whoever the fuck. Share this among whoever will listen. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Break it down.
And then flowers and heart-shaped boxes, which is, the heart-shaped box of chocolate and all that. Hey, wait, I complained.